Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Zach Jurica and I'm the craftsman behind Nomadic Arts Archery. Today's video gonna focus on birch bark quivers and some DIY stuff that you can do yourself. And first we're gonna do overview, then we're gonna do some DIY stuff. At this point, I would like to thank you to Uli Wellner for his contribution to video. And please don't be shy to subscribe, to watch videos in full. And if willing and able, please support us on Patreon. Link will be down below. All of the quivers that we're gonna see here, they're from archaeological sites. Some of them I do know where they come from, some of them I don't. The ones I do know, I will add it to description. The ones I don't, I just pick them up from internet. They keep popping up from time to time. Here we can see beautiful example of a birch bark quiver and a bow from, I believe, 10th century. Similar type of quiver, only with leather cover embossed with bronze decorations. So here we can clearly see the cover that they used to use. On some quivers it's fairly preserved, on some of them didn't. It all depends on material they used. A lot of images that I'm gonna use for this show is from a book Steppenkrieger. It's a book on German, and it's a very mandatory book for anyone who's even remotely interested in this type of archery equipment. First type, similar to those quivers from excavations, does not have any rigid top part. It's mainly made out of the birch bark, in this case leather, and wood structure. We can clearly see all those structures very nicely displayed here. I do apologize for bad picture. Here we can see same quiver, just from different angle, and I hope it's a better picture. Structure is very clear, wood part is very clear, and all that is missing is top cover. So about this quiver we will not talk much more. Most interesting to me, again Steppenkrieger book, is this particular type of quiver. It was found in Arkadel, another burial site, archaeological site, and it consists of 4 pieces of straight wood and 1 piece of bent wood. We're gonna talk much more about this one since it's very, very interesting to me. It is made with birch bark, most likely birch wood, and rawhide. This picture, again from Steppenkrieger, it's very interesting because it shows structure in many ways. On the bottom we can see backplate, which is nicely fitted to side plates. Side plates, there's 2 of them, actually 3. There's 2 side plates and there's a top plate. Top plate is made in a horseshoe, most likely steam bent. The other 2 parts, they're basically pieces of straight wood. Looks like there's wooden pegs holding a horseshoe bent piece of wood. So tricky part about steam bending, it will always come back. In this case, it stood there for 1,000 years. So we can clearly see that there's a birch bark coming where the shaping of wood ends. So at this point we can clearly see the structure and we can see how it's put together. There's a rawhide keeping a horseshoe part together with the side lashes, so to put it in that perspective. Here we have another picture, this time from Uli Wellner. It's a back view of similar quiver. It has a very pronounced back plate and it's all held together with rawhide. So there's two ways of doing it. Here is the front view of it, and you can see how thick is the birch bark, how thick are the side plates, and how worn it is. You can also see the stitching, very nicely stitched. Rawhide laces together birch bark, horseshoe piece of wood, and the back plate. Beautiful, beautiful picture. Similar view, just with the arrows. Arrows would always found with the fronts facing up. Here is my humble attempt to reproduce one of those quivers, and we're gonna do some step-by-step instructional video how to do it and stuff like that, so please bear with me. We're gonna start with the wood bending. Wood should be soaked, like really soaked, in a water for a day or two till everything soaks up really nicely. While wood is straight, you can cover it with tin foil, make sure everything soaks up really nicely. After a while it will get fairly rubbery, but don't be rushed with it. Take your time, bend it ever so gently, slightly, otherwise it will crack and it's gonna ruin your project. As wood gets more and more pliable, make sure, like you see here, I use sort of a electrical tape, use a copper wire and bring it further down. That will narrow down so-called keyhole shape of the wood. Like with most of our projects, we're just gonna leave it, let it dry, and then we're gonna get back to it when we got more time. This was my attempt to make it, how to put it, more cooperative. In waist of the keyhole, I changed the angle, so you're gonna spread out a bit more, but it's not really a necessary step. Better way would be to add it to your frame, and here I'm using rawhide. When everything is wet, including wood and rawhide will decompress, will shrink down and pull everything back in a place, and you can leave it for weeks. In this case, it's been a year, and it will keep this particular shape. And here is our side view of a mold, not the pronounced front part, and of course, front part. You can clearly see how beaten up it is and how many holes I did to it. Well, it served its purpose. At this part, mold is ready for, in this case, we're gonna use leather. So basically, we're gonna add leather cover and work with that as we progress. Very important part is to use part of the cowhide that would be at the front of the cow, particular neck part, which is most stretchable part. That part we will use to make the crown, and if you notice how ugly it looks from front, don't worry about it, will be all gone. Here is the same detail, just with everything is out of the mold and is cut out. You can still see how roughly it's done, but we can work with that. We're gonna glue top part to wood frame, and that's gonna sort of iron out some things, but we can still work on it. Here's a better view of it, or at least I hope so. And at this point it doesn't look like much, but patience is a virtue. Back view doesn't look much sexier, but I just wanted to include it, so I guess you know what to expect. Well, at this point I didn't bother taking pictures, but basically what you're gonna do is slap back everything to the mold, after staining the leather, of course, and keep everything with the clamps. drill the holes and take everything apart. Front and back part, you can glue it on. You can use fish glue. It'll do just fine, and it will stay with the leather. On right hand side, that piece is where we're gonna do final stitching. Left hand side, where we added the hooks and all of that, you can glue it on and it'll do just fine. So at this point, a little bit of gluing and the stitching, and then we're gonna see a bit of a final result. So at this point, you can pretty much see the stitching from inside. On outside, there shouldn't be any major surprises, but here you can see everything nicely sealed. And if you wish to work with rawhide, if you wish to work with birch bark, all the steps should be pretty much same, except you would soak up birch bark in a hot water and work very quickly, so it can retain some memory to it. Leave it in a mold to dry for a couple of days, I would say. So at that point, it should be all nice. Make sure, well, you don't have to. I like to have orange color to birch bark. I find it much more attractive, much sexier, but it's up to you from this point. And if you work with leather or rawhide, there's plenty of modern materials you can use. We can discuss all those things in the comment section. And at this point, I think I covered most of it. But if I didn't, we can always make another episode. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. I hope you learned something new today.